your one-stop shop for great wrestling. WrestleCopia.com, where you'll find an armload of great wrestling podcasts. Some are weekly, some are not. All of them are great. Ray Russell brings WrestleCopia to you, including his own show, The Wrestling Memory Grenade. There's Regional Wrestling, The Wrestling Stoop with Bob Roop, The Puro Wrestling Academy, Retro Wrestling Review with Gene Jackson, Dave Dynasty's Wrestling Nostalgia, Monday Warfare, Raw vs. Nitro, the Other Shit podcast, the Captain's Corner podcast, and much, much more. Great hosts, great shows. I guarantee you'll learn something every time you tune in to the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Where do you find all these shows? How about starting it this way? Just log on to WrestleCopia.com. There's nothing else like it anywhere. We hear that sizzle. That's the sound you can only hear at the outdated drive-thru. We've been in business since 1964. You know where it is, don't you? Left on the route. Slow down at the garage. Slow down at the garbage. Take it left. Past the big half a house. There it is. This week, since the Outdated Wrestling Hour is celebrating World-Class Championship Wrestling out of Texas, we're going to celebrate it too with some specials. Your favorites. Here's some delicacies you might enjoy, huh? Handsome Jimmy Garvin curly fries. All right, think about it for a second. Bill Mercer Norwegian noodle soup. It's hot. Iceman Parsons Ice Pops. Well, they're for the kids. Scandal Akbar mystery meat on a stick. I wouldn't touch that one. For you dieters, we've got Gary Hot Word Salad. And our ultimate bestseller from the menu, Scott Casey's Sausage Sandwich. It's got a little hat on it. We're famous for our Texas size and Texas style drinks. There's sodas in different colors. We got Terry Gordy grape color, Rick Rude red pop, Killer Khan K-pop. You get the drift. Ice cream treats for the kiddies. Bring along the small fry. We got Bill Masquer's Malteds, Bobby Fulton fountain sodas, and of course, Brick House brownies. Don't forget our specialty, Botswana Beast Diet Cola, loaded with saccharin. That's right. Wrestling style goodness you can only get here. Outdated drive-thru. Been in business since 1964. Division of... It's the Outdated Wrestling Hour. Our special guest, Dave Miller. Welcome, one and all, to the Outdated Wrestling Hour, and thank you so much for being here once again. My name is Bob Smith. I used to be with Pro Wrestling Illustrated and WCW Magazine and all the London magazines. Thank you for being here. Also, thank you, Joe Puccio, for coming back, our co-host. How are you doing?
Hey, Bob. Hello, everybody. I am doing great.
I'm glad to hear that. I hope your health is good. We have had a small virus running around New York City of late. It's either a cold or a minor flu or something like that. And it's jumping up and biting virtually everybody I know. Some of my bowling compadres have gotten it. My wife has gotten it. You've had it. I don't even know what it is, but I know it gets in the way when you're busy, doesn't it?
It really does. And I'm kind of getting over it now, sort of at the tail end. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's that time of year. Now it's getting a little chilly out. As long as it doesn't last too long, usually these things only last a week or so, and mine is on the way out, and hopefully that's it for the season. Fingers crossed.
Well, as you know, I recently had a birthday, right? And the only reason I'm bringing up the birthday, first of all, thank you to the unbelievable amount of people who said hi on Facebook. I really appreciate it. But here's why I'm bringing up my birthday. Because I had a Carvel on my birthday. That's why. People have been asking me, where's the Carvel talk? Well, we're going to have to segue it for just a minute, talk about it. I, folks, did not have a straight vanilla dish. I had a vanilla dish with the poor man's hot fudge chocolate syrup. And it was like heaven to me. And this is coming just a
Nice.
few weeks after I went to Albany and had some Stewart's vanilla, which is the most creamy vanilla ice cream you'll ever eat. And now I can't have anything like that because I'm still working on my health thing here. But for my birthday, I really splurged and I had myself a minor league Sunday.
So I haven't had a Sunday in quite a while, actually sitting down at a Carvel, but a couple of weeks ago we did celebrate my father-in-law's birthday. We had people over the house and we got a Carvel cake. Half of it is still in our freezer because, we need about half. And it's enticing me every night. It's like, the worst time for me is just I'm fine with eating well throughout the day for dinner, but then it's like at night when the last couple of hours of your day when you're watching TV, you just kind of get that urge to have a snack. It's calling my name in there. It's like Fudgy is saying like, Joe, come have my nose, come have my ear, and it's still sitting in there. So maybe this weekend, we'll have a slice.
When the pandemic hit, I lost something like 45 pounds
Wow.
intentionally. Okay. I was at my lowest weight since probably the 80s. And I did it for one simple reason because you couldn't go out and do a whole lot. I just didn't bring any crap home. I didn't bring any
Ooh,
garbage food, no ice cream, no sweet teas, no fried foods, nothing. And I got into some really good eating habits. It was easy to do because you were kind of living inside your house in those days.
yeah, that's
And I'll
true.
tell you what, I'm kind of doing that again right now because of my little health malady. Now I'm spending a lot more time at home and I'm retired, y'all. I'm gonna be spending a lot more time on podcasting because I am retired. So, yeah, there you go.
So jealous.
I'm really hoping that it pays off in some way. It gives me a little more time. Like, I'm more flexible now with my interview times and all, so it's wonderful for now. I'm still gonna do something, it's just not what I was doing. So, I'm hoping I can drop a few tons at this point. But let's get so there you go. As much as I love I love my outdated barbecue. Let's talk wrestling. We're going to talk contemporary wrestling right before we get in with our look at World Class Championship Wrestling. But now let's talk about something that happened just at this point 2 weeks ago on Saturday night's main event. They did an entire 2-hour card, I guess 5 matches, whatever it was. No outside interference. None. I can't recall the last time I watched any wrestling program. Indies, locals, when I went to the NWA, all different kinds of things without any outside interference. Was it the greatest show I've ever seen? No, of course not. Was it kind of delightful that it came down the way it did? Yeah. All clean finishes? Really? Seriously? Give me more, Joe. Give me more.
That's interesting. I did watch it, but I didn't see it. Definitely didn't see it when it aired. I saw it a few days later and kind of like half watching as I watch a lot of the product now. I'm kind of like doing other things. So I actually didn't even think about that until you mentioned it. But it is cool. I mean, right? It's refreshing because I guess you just don't see it. And when it does happen, it's kind of like, wow, what happened here? Did they, how did they book this? Yeah, I don't know. It might have just been a one-off show because I'm sure they'll go right back to it in the next show, whatever it is, Raw, SmackDown. But yeah, it is refreshing to see that, right?
Yeah, I thought it was. And I will tell you, even I guess the opener was Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre for that
Mhm.
championship, and it was a clean finish.
Mhm.
I'm not saying there wasn't a little chicanery involved. I think Cody hit him with a belt or something like that before he got the pin. But again, there weren't 5 guys around the ring hovering around, and at a crucial moment, somebody stops the action. There's either DQ or the ref doesn't see it at all, even though it's right in front of him. That's the most amazing thing to me. I will say that the referees continue to do the same thing in the current WWE. A 10 count lasts a minute 40. 1, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward. 2. I think the referee's name was Arthur Murray. Boom, boom. Hey, there's an old reference. But no, seriously, I don't get it. 1, it used to be 1, 2, just, 1 Mississippi. Now it's 1 Alabama, Alaska. I don't understand. They think the fans don't notice this. And you know what? They don't.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Have all your favorite podcasters given up? Well, join us at Between the States. We're just getting started.
Between the States is a podcast about people, for people, by people.
What kind of people? Celebrity people.
Not celebrity people, regular people.
Regular people? On a podcast?
This sounds like a scam.
It's not a scam. It's for real.
Well, it's about time.
Real people on a podcast.
What do they talk about?
They talk about all sorts of stuff from the mundane to the exciting, from past life experiences to future plans.
Is there a website I can visit?
Yeah, you can go to BetweenTheStates.com and find us on all your favorite podcast platforms.
I'm going to do that right now.
Find us at Between the States.
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 Well, why don't they just do 20 counts if they need to give them more time? You probably remember this better, but I mean, at what point was WWF always the 10 count, even with Vince Sr. back then?
I do not remember ever being a 20 count in the East Coast here. I just don't. I mean, there may have been other. WWE was so wide and expansive in the old days when it was triple WF that maybe some state athletic commissions called for that. Seriously, I don't know. I just don't know.
Personally, I've always. There are some organizations that do it. I want to say, I don't even know if I could be wrong right now.
I know there were some old NWA territories that did have a 20 count.
Yeah, I do remember that. I feel like they do that in Japan, and I don't even know if AEW does that. I think they did, at least in the beginning, but I always thought 20 count was preferable. To me, 10 is just ridiculous. It's too quick if you're counting, if you're properly counting, of course. But to me, it's like you want to have a little bit of action on the outside, so give them 20. I mean, count it as a regular count and give them 20. I mean, 10 is just too quick because then they're just rushing to get back into the ring,
I would agree with that statement, other than I watch the referees, and it's never really a 10 count. It's always the same thing.
Saying.
But no, this is what I mean. The guy goes flying over the top rope, right? Or he's on the floor, right? And before he starts the count, here comes the opponent trying to rush out to get to him, and the referee has to push him back before the count even starts. You go to the other side. And then eventually, 1, 2.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, they think the fans don't notice this. And recently they had a women's match with a count out where I think Becky Lynch got counted out, right? This is what kills me. Becky Lynch got counted out against, of all people, Maxine Dupree, right? Mm-hmm. Maxine won by count out. The referee went 6, 7, 8.
Oh, yeah.
Like you would do it. So how come they can learn how to count faster when it's a count out that actually is going to happen, and then when it's not going to happen, they take their time like they just ordered food?
Yeah, it's almost like it's a work. It's weird.
Well, you think? I don't. Gee, don't you dare say something like that.
It seems like it, but I could be wrong. But it's because it suits the match, right? So it's basically whatever suits the booking of that match is what they do. And of course, if it throws common sense out the window, so be it. And you want to know another thing related to that you don't see as much anymore are the wrestlers having the sense that they're going to be counted out because the referee is counting at a regular pace, and they jump back into the ring. Remember when they used to do that all the time? They would get back into the ring, roll in to stop the count, and then roll back out. So that was obviously a heel move because the heels were maybe beaten on the face and they wanted to keep beating on the face. So they would get in the ring and the referee would be like, oh man, now I have to start over again. And they would start all over again. Now it's sort of a lost art because now, again, the referee can just stop counting after a few seconds and just wait. Or like you said, if he wants and it suits the match, he can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's it.
A couple months ago, there was a match on TV. It was, I think, another Saturday Night's Main Event. It was Solo Sikoa versus Jimmy Uso, and they were battling in the ring apron, and a count did not even take place. The referee is standing in the center of the ring watching them fight on the apron. Now, the apron counts as outside the ring. For anybody who knows rules, I counted. I went back, got my stopwatch on my watch, hit it for the minute they started doing it. It was 1:20. Unbelievable. Why don't you just scrap all the rules? Seriously. If the rules are this wide and flung open, and there's never, the realism is gone. So a bunch of people attack somebody else backstage. This is terrible. No fines, no suspensions, no repercussions. You can get a title shot doing that now, right? You don't have to earn it like beating a bunch of guys on the way up a ladder anymore. You just have to beat them up backstage.
Not even so much that my biggest pet peeve in that sort of subject area is, like you said, the attacks backstage. But my thing is, it's so annoying that the cameras are always there and there's a camera guy filming it when there's supposed to be this like attack. It's like, why is there a camera guy right in the face of these guys that are getting ready to attack them? Like, you're telling me nobody else is there to stop this? It's just, it's so much like a TV.
It is totally unrealistic.
Yeah.
It's so fake. I mean, seriously, it's a bit where guys in the locker room, he's putting on his boots and here comes his tag team partner to talk in front of the people out in the arena and the entire world on television about match strategy coming up against the tag team. It's so dumb. It's like the opponents can't just grab a monitor and say, oh, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to do the other thing. It's just so stupid. I mean, that is my biggest pet peeve with WWE style wrestling. And they invented The Undertaker. So I don't know what else to say. Other than, I think this is why that particular show with normal wrestling matches with definitive finishes to me were pretty cool. Pretty cool. Of course, there was, I think, 2 titles changes during the show, too. I mean, here's somebody you don't like that won a belt. Jade Cargill is the women's champion in the show.
I know.
Again, I look at her as Ernie Ladd or Andre the Giant. I look at her as a power wrestler. Power wrestlers do not need to have every move in the book.
I don't know, Bob.
You can
I
overcome
disagree.
Sid Vicious, my friend, Danny Spivey,
Yes,
The Undertaker. They don't need to have, do flings off the top rope. I don't think it's necessary.
But I
People
think
like power, people enjoy it,
I have no problem with power wrestlers. I think the guys that you mentioned, there's different situations. I mean, Andre is in a league by himself, of course.
He's an oxymoron. Not to mention an ox, yeah.
But I mean, you're talking about somebody like, an Undertaker. I mean, the Undertaker is a good worker. I mean, the Undertaker knew how to work. To me, and Sid Vicious, I was never a Sid guy, but I mean, I just think it's too awkward in the ring. I just don't think they use her properly.
How is she awkward? Wait. How is she awkward in the ring?
She doesn't. There's a lot of hesitation in the ring. There's a lot of, it's just too, I think it's too glaring. There are some wrestlers that aren't that great where they can sort of hide it and they can sort of work to their strengths. With her, it just doesn't seem like it. And I mean, I know you're not an AEW guy, but I will say, I think she was better used absolutely in AEW. In AEW, they hid all of that. And you know what? It might have been a detriment because maybe she didn't get the training that she needed. Maybe they didn't put her in enough long matches. But in AEW, she was this power wrestler. They kept her undefeated. And I just felt she had a much better aura there. Since she came to WWE, I don't know. I'm just not feeling it. But
she just in through this kind of turned quasi heel.
Yes,
I mean she attacked
which I think
Tiffany Stratton beforehand.
I do think that's a good move. Yeah,
and the finishing maneuver she used against Stratton, she demolished her. So I think she's going to be presented as, I think this is all going to lead to a WrestleMania match between Jade Cargill and Rhea Ripley. The 2 large ladies will get in together and beat the living tar out of each other. That I would kind of look forward to.
But see, that's a great example of, to me, a match that Rhea Ripley's awesome. Like, Rhea Ripley is a power wrestler, but she actually can work. She actually knows how to wrestle. And to me, she has great matches. I just don't see it out of Jade. But I mean, hey, look, I'm not trying to be a Jade hater. It's just my personal opinion.
I don't think Jade is that great. That she's not like one of the top 5 stars in the company. She's just not. But I put it to you, for years and years in wrestling, you didn't all wrestle the same way. I
And I don't
don't
want to
need
see
every
them
wrestler to
wrestle the
wrestle
same
the
way.
same. I
Yeah.
don't. You know, some of the clumsiest guys were around forever. I mean,
Well, no, absolutely. I mean,
go ahead.
Andre the Giant wasn't a. I mean, then again, in his early days, he can move. But I mean to say, like back in his heyday, he wasn't out there. You weren't out there to see Andre do, show off his technical prowess, of course. But he never was out there. To me, he never embarrassed. He never looked bad in the ring, unless you're talking about his last couple of years, of course, where he really couldn't do anything. And they put him in the ring with the Ultimate Warrior. That's a different story. But I don't know. That's just the way I see it with her. I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll see how long they keep the belt on her. We'll see how successful she is. Maybe she'll do really well. To me, I just feel like she needs more training, more.
I think she's fine. I think she's up. And here, I have another question for you.
Mhm.
Let's bring up Kairi Sane, who comes up to my belt buckle.
Yeah.
How is she beating anybody? Seriously. So you're not complaining about Kairi Sane, who stretches credibility by being the size of a pack of saltines, but you're damning Jade Cargill for having a limited move set.
The reason, okay, right, but the reason I'm not complaining about Kairi Sane is because Kairi Sane, you're talking about two different things. You're talking about now sheer size. Kairi Sane,
but that's not.
is
And
a great
Kairi Sane has a
wrestler.
tremendous move set. And you know what? I don't think
Right.
she could. I don't think she could pin down my dog. All right, seriously, I have no problem with that. If they're matched against a lot of the women's division, they have varying sizes there. All right, that's fine. That's fine. I don't think Stephanie Vakura is all that big, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, and a
Right,
couple of the
right,
other
right.
newcomers are not large. So I don't know. I'm
I
just
don't know.
saying that. All I'm saying is this: it's no big deal. I just don't think Jade doesn't bother me. I kind of like her power moves, to be honest with you. That bit where
Yeah.
she wraps her around the front and just slams him face first. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Power sells tickets, buddy. You can say what you want about Sid Vicious. Sid Vicious sold tickets, a lot of tickets.
I gotta
You
say,
can
talking
dislike
about,
it from a wrestling standpoint, but they're trying to sell tickets.
I don't know. I'm not convinced that Jade Cargill is going to sell tickets. That's just me.
Well, I don't see any empty arenas.
But I
See,
don't think
here's the
she's the
problem.
reason for it.
Here's the problem when you check out the. You sound like an internet guy. I'm sorry. You sound like an internet guy. I don't know how you can make a statement like that. It's not because she's on the card. It's not. She's not hurting the sales.
No, of course not.
Here's
But no. What I'm saying, I'm not trying to say that she's hurting sales. I'm just saying that you're saying that they're not having a problem selling tickets, and I'm just trying to say that that you're right. They're obviously very successful, but I don't think you could say they're so successful now, and Jade Cargill is a big reason for it. It's everybody that they have. It's just the product that they're putting out.
logic. If they don't think she sells tickets, why they put the belt on her?
You know what? I think everybody thought they would put the belt on her as soon as she
Showed up.
joined.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And they didn't, and they waited for a long time. And again, who knows how you hear all the rumors, the stuff on the internet about, they weren't happy with her performance, and there were all these rumors. I don't know if that's true.
Those
I
are
just know
rumors.
that what's that?
The wrestling internet has the credibility of your drunk uncle.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. You can take that with a grain of salt, but all I know is that she's been there for a while, and to me, it seems like they're finally going to pull the plug. They're finally saying, you know what, let's do it. Let's put the belt on her and see how she does, and we'll see, I guess, how long they keep it and how she does. I mean, she might do well. It's.
Here's what I think. One thing she is lacking: a definable personality.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have one. She's been kind of nice coming in and stuff like that. Lately, she's mad at her circumstances when she got hurt and all that, and wants to get some revenge on that type of thing, or show people that she's back. Did you see that eyebrow injury she had? That was gruesome.
Yeah.
That was rough.
Like I said, I do think they're doing the right thing by making her a heel. If she is, I think she is, right? She's a full-fledged heel now. I think that would be the right character for her. To me, she's a bona fide heel, and I think she'll have much more success in that role. But we'll see.
Now we're going back to world class. Remember the world class female heels? Precious,
yeah.
Missy Hyatt. She was a heel at first, right? With Hollywood John Tatum and all the other ladies of world class. There was that amazing Jeannie Clark versus Tony Adams feud.
Right. Yeah.
with Steve Austin and Chris Adams, the trainer and the student. Great stuff.
Just coincidentally, again, these are things I know you go down this rabbit hole of stuff when you go on YouTube and you just watch the old stuff. But being that this is a world-class show, I just rewatched again the Flair Kerry Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions show at Texas Stadium from '84. And it really it holds up so well in the sense that it's not a very long match. I think it was about 15 minutes, 15, 16 minutes, something like that. It wasn't flashy. Flair was great in it. I think he carried Von Erich to a really good match, but it just had so much emotion. It was simple, but it was well worked. I loved the ending when Kerry won the belt. And another thing glaring about it was that at the end, Flair loses the belt, the NWA belt, his prized possession. He doesn't go and sneak attack Von Erich. He doesn't go and just like lay him out and blow. No, he just goes up to him at the end and he said something like, "I'm coming back. Like that belt is mine and I'll be back." So it's like it was real enough to where, as a real athletic competition, to where he knew he was defeated. And he told Von Erich, "You beat me tonight, but I'm coming back, and your ass is mine." And he leaves. And then the brothers celebrate in the ring. I think Iceman Parsons was in the ring, Chris Adams, Fritz and Doris were even there. I think they were like in the aisle when he was leaving. But I just watched the match just straight. And again, you only have to invest like 15, 20 minutes. It wasn't a long match, but it was just done so well. Everything about it. You just don't even the ring introductions. You didn't have to waste 10 minutes with the ring introduction. Ric Flair, NWA champion. That's it. The challenger, Kerry Von Erich. Boom.
Yeah.
And then the match starts. That's all
Yep.
you need.
It is all you need. And I will say this, the tinge of realism, the post-match, like you mentioned,
Mhm.
filled the football stadium. Everybody thought what they were watching was the
Over
real deal.
30,000 people.
And don't forget that the specter of, David's death. David was, I guess, originally supposed to get that slot.
Right.
And there was a lot of real human emotion in this. And the way it was handled by everybody from the NWA through the Von Erichs, perfect.
Yep.
Probably a top 10 wrestling moment of all time. Would you agree with that?
It really was. And it's something that's lacking today. I don't want to say you don't have any emotion. You really have to work at it today. Like there would be emotion. I'm just thinking of an example, like stuff with Bray Wyatt. They bring in like Cena recently. He was doing the moves. He did Bray Wyatt's moves, and people.
How about Dustin Dusty?
The Dustin Dusty
the
stuff.
2 year
Right.
trying to live up to his dad's image,
But it takes a lot.
It's kind of similar. It
takes a lot. It's just back then it just seemed like it was so much more natural, and it was just the fans. It didn't take fans convincing because it was actually what they were feeling, and of course, I mean, again, I know that was just a ridiculously tragic situation with the death of David and just that whole Von Erich issue. But, so I'm not trying to compare that to anything nowadays. I'm just saying, I think in general, that just showed the true emotion. And it just showed, like you said, I think it's one of the great moments. Is it the greatest match in history? No, it was a good match. There was nothing fancy about it, but that's all you needed. You didn't need a 5-star match day. You just needed a good emotional moment.
Do you remember where you saw this?
Where I saw it recently?
Yeah, but you just watched it, yeah.
Oh, on YouTube, yeah.
On YouTube. So everybody should go out to YouTube and check this out. If you enjoyed this world-class show we're about to embark on, what better to watch than that? Probably the highlight of the promotion. The whole time it was there. I know about the Freebirds Von Erich's feud and all the other great stuff they did. And the Sportatorium, one of a kind, and sweat box that it was. But I think that stadium, it was Texas Stadium, if I recall correctly, right?
Yep. Yes, it was.
And it was packed, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house. For real. Yeah,
and they show you watch, don't turn it off when it's over. You watch it until the very end, and you'll see the crowd when Von Erich is leaving through the crowd. And again, it was different back then it is nowadays. Nowadays, they'd have, you're kind of like cordoned off with the barricades. Back then, it was like the fans were just kind of like right there, walking around, and just a great moment. It's definitely something to watch again. Whether I'm sure most of the listeners have seen that, I'm guessing, of this show, but if you haven't seen it in a while, you should definitely rewatch it. It's very, very easy to find on YouTube.
Great tip. Now you make me want to go watch it, but I can't because I got an interview to do.
There you go.
Joe Puccio is the proprietor of the GenerationXWire.com website, the entertainment website, unlike anything else on the web. Things are going great with that. Let's take just a couple of moments. You know what? I'll tell you a little more about Generation X Wire right here. And after that, our special guest will be here. We're going to go over the glory years of world-class championship wrestling. Joe, thanks again. Attention, Gen Xers. If you'd like to explore the era that appeals to you, look no further than GenerationXWire.com. The generation who grew up with elite in entertainment, music, movies, TV, books, pro wrestling, and more finally has a one-stop destination for all their Gen X needs. From Aerosmith to Batman to the Killer Bees to the Twilight Zone, there's something for everybody at GenerationXWire.com. You won't find a more eclectic mix of pop culture content than at the leading website that specializes in the greatest generation, GenerationXWire.com. Check it out today. Well, I said about 4 weeks ago on this show, I want to do a whole show on world class. Puccio and I were going, we both said we loved world class. We both watched it regularly. I even got to see it. I'm originally from the Albany, New York area, and they actually promoted a couple cards up there, if you can believe it. And it was good, and we never talk about it. So I wanted to talk about it, and I said on the podcast I wanted to find somebody who was around in those days, and who contacted me, but Anthony Pyrus. And he says, you got to have Dave Miller on the show. And to be honest, Dave, I said, who's Dave Miller? and he said, no, this guy knows it all. He was there at the time, and he's a podcaster too, and those were the two magic words. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's Dave Miller. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Hi, Bob. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's all true. I mean, it's like I'm like, who's Dave? Is he? I listen. You're a podcaster too. You ever open up your email and people go, "I'd like to be on your show because I was a fan of." Yeah, my whole Gmail box is full of that stuff. So I'm kind of picky, because this is commerce, and I want people to have at least some credibility in wrestling before they come on the show, rather than just being a fan. Maybe I'm being snobbish. I don't know, but I've been so successful, I don't want to change my formula. Just the way it works. So the more he told me about you, the more I said, yeah, this is a no-brainer. So welcome.
Well,
I can't wait. I cannot wait to find out what you have to say. Seriously. I have not heard your podcast. I'll be honest with you. When you told me what it was, it's the first I had heard of it. And it's called Talking Wrestling with Pond, Water, and Amy. Tell us a little bit about what that's all about.
Well, we decided to do a podcast, and I wanted to focus on independent wrestling. I'm a referee. I've been refereeing for 20 years. I wanted to try to shine some light to independent wrestlers. And my friend Amy, I know her through ad-free shows, the Conrad Thompson Patreon. And when I started, I had my friend Justin Davis, and I said, let's get Amy, because Amy asks really good questions. And I wanted a fan's perspective too. So we put it together, and this week we'll be recording our third anniversary episode. So it's
nice. Congratulations. That's great.
We're rolling along. We're starting to really get some traction. Our YouTube channels just recently hit over 10,000 subscribers. Mm-hmm. So we're starting to get some traction after 3 years, and we're excited. And we talk all wrestling, but I really try to focus on the indies and give them some exposure, whether it's referees, whether it's talent, whether it's promoters. We've gone out of our way to try to shine a positive spotlight, because the stars that you'll see tomorrow on television, you see today in the indies, or the stars you saw yesterday on television, they're back in the indies.
Right. And that's how it always worked too. Even in my magazine days back in the 80s and 90s, they had these upstart promoters back then who would hire the guys who were in between contracts. Let's say they were fired or they're just a contract. You weren't fired back then. Your contract ran out. And you could go anywhere you wanted while you were looking for the other league. Right? So these indie promoters would book these guys, overpay them, and then go out of business.
Right.
They were so way of the 80s, because these guys go, oh boy, if I get these two guys that headlined Madison Square Garden 6 years ago, we'll fill the place to the rafters, and then at showtime they're papering the house, because it's like 6 years ago is a long time in the wrestling world. I think that people know that at this point.
We call a lot of those guys tax return championship wrestling.
That's good. Yep. So anyway, I want you to say this to my audience right now. Your last refereeing deal that you just told me about, just tell them. Can you talk about that? This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. The floor is yours on this one. Just go.
2022 was an incredible year for me. After all these years of being a referee, I got the call to be on Ric Flair's last match. And this was, I was only going to get, the first match was a battle royal, like a bunkhouse brawl. So there was several referees out for that. But then the promoter called me, Conrad Thompson's promoter. He's one of my very best friends. He called me and said, "Hey, Dave, we're setting up the card. I need to know, do you want the Von Erichs and the Briscoes, or do you want the Horsemen and the Rock and Roll?" And I'm like, well, there's a Sophie's choice, but give me the Briscoes is what I said. So I went to Nashville thinking that the only thing I was going to do was referee the Briscoe brothers and the Von Erich boys. And day of, I find out that Mike Chioda's going to go down in the main, and I'm going to be the guy that gets to run in, slide in, and make the final 3 count for Ric Flair.
All I can say is, wow. I mean, what a nice... And you didn't know that walking in the building?
I found out the day of.
Wow.
That morning, I was told, but my friend told me it was the initial plan. He just knew that if he told me, I wouldn't be able to sleep or I'd get in my head. So it was a last minute notification that I was going to get that, because he knows that Ric Flair's my all-time favorite wrestler. And it was Ric Flair versus Kerry Von Erich that brought me in. But it took me several years to realize it was Ric Flair, not Kerry Von Erich.
Right. But still, that's a nice feather in your cap right there. Just to say you did it. I mean, for no other reason but to say you were part of, well, if that really is his last match, it's part of history.
Well, yeah, and a nice side note is that Tony Schiavone and David Crockett were on the call.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Schiavone and David Crockett are my all-time favorite duo. I always loved how David Crockett was a fan commentator. And, of course, Tony Schiavone is Tony Schiavone. Well, at ringside, after I ran down, Tony told me when we were walking back up the ramp, he said, "I can't wait for you to hear the playback." He goes, "I gave you the Sting treatment." So when I ran out, he went, "It's Super Dave." So not only did I get to do that, I got my favorite all-time commentary team actually call me by name. So 2022 was the biggest year.
And like winning the lottery, right? That's pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
you didn't know it the day before, but the day of, oh boy.
I became the answer to a trivia question.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool.
And I've had my fingers crossed ever since that Rick wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, right. So you can maintain it. Yeah.
Don't take it away from me, Rick. Just don't take it away from me. That's all I got.
Every wrestler that retires, We'll see The Undertaker work again. I'm convinced. That kind of thing. It's just, they all say, this is it. I'm done. I'm hurt. I'm old. They'll be back. They all come back for one thing or another. But I'm glad you're back here because you're here ostensibly to talk about World Class Championship Wrestling, right, or the Von Erich promotion, the heart of that promotion. You were there for, the Sportatorium and all those years. When you first start going, apparently it was around the time of Flair,
August of 82.
Right? Oh, that goes back even farther. Okay.
August of 82. I watched it when I was a little kid, and then I discovered Saturday Night Live and got away from it. I really liked it. When I was a really, really small child, I watched it on television. I loved Ivan Putski. And but then I got into Saturday Night Live, got away from wrestling, but I came home from work one Saturday night. My little brother was loving it. And he was watching it, and I started to kind of tease him a little bit about it. My mom told me to leave him alone. Well, this was Saturday Night Wrestling, and on Sunday night at Reunion Arena in Dallas, they were going to have what they call Star Wars. It was their quarterly big card. Ric Flair was on the television he was wearing a fur coat, had women with him, being just obnoxious as he can be, and he got my attention, and I asked my brother who he was, and at the time, they were doing training matches, getting ready for the big match. And Kerry had drawn Kevin and they were in the ring doing training. Kevin would hold his hands up like this, and Kerry would drop kick his hands. And Rick was talking like, "Hey, Von Erich, hit him in the mouth. That's what it's going to be like being with the world champion." And Rick was just being, you know how he just over the top, and he got my attention. But later in the night, he was out for his training match with Brian Adias, who my brother explained to me was Kerry's best friend. They went to school together. Well, Rick's in there just using Brian Adias up. He's being dirty. The Kerry's having to be held from getting in the ring. It's a whole thing. So I tell my little brother, if you clean my bedroom up, I will take you to that tomorrow night. Because I knew I couldn't get out of the house on Sunday without my room being clean. That boy went in there and he did it spotless. And Mom said, "You're not backing out. You got to take him." And we went down to Reunion Arena and we bought a ticket at the box office. And we were on the very top row at the very back of the arena. I knew who Ric Flair was because I'd seen him on television. I knew who Kerry was. Earlier in the night, I saw David Von Erich and Kevin versus Kabuki and the Dragon. I saw Harley Race versus King Kong Bundy. I knew who those guys were. I mean, it was just a spectacular crowd. The crowd was so energetic. But this 2 out of 3 fall match with Kerry versus Flair, they brought in a special referee, Alfred Neely, who I later knew that came from Mid-South, but at the time, nobody knew. He was being very over-officious. He disqualified Kerry in the first fall for hitting him with the discus punch because he went to discus punch Flair. Flair moved, the referee got it, disqualification. The Kerry won the second fall, and then it all got thrown out in the third fall, and Fritz came out, and Fritz ended up hitting the referee. And by the end of the night, I was hooked at what I'd seen, and I couldn't talk. My throat was completely blown out because I'd yelled so much. You couldn't, I was all in on wrestling from then on out. And we went again on Christmas we went back at Christmas night at Reunion Arena to see the rematch between Kerry and Flair in the cage. So I was there when Terry Gordy slammed the cage door on Kerry's head. To my surprise, my throat was blown out and gone. My voice was gone again at the end of that night.
Oh man, this is great. You were there for so much history, just starting out, just getting started with it. That's
I
pretty
hit
cool.
there at the right time.
You really did, yeah.
Because
that's a lot of history in like your first 2 or 3 or 4 shows that you saw. That's great.
But we go back on our podcast and we watch World Class. We do a World Class flashback. It's a watch along show, and we started with that match in '82. And if you watch it, you can see, of course, here comes Michael Hayes between August and Christmas, but you can watch the launch of World Class Wrestling when it shot in the stratosphere. And you can see the changes being made to the Sportatorium on a weekly basis, just up in their production value all through '83.
I thought the World Class show was innovative in bringing stuff that other wrestling shows never had before, like multi-camera production and, ring music and cameramen on the apron. So you got a really, really wonderful look at the action. I thought it was one of the best looking shows on TV for its era. Do you agree with that?
Think about who was the director. You had Keith Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
You had Dan Bynum. Mickey Grant. And if you don't know who Keith Mitchell just recently retired from AEW in the last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Keith Mitchell's done it all. And Dan Bynum went from World Class to WCW. He was in WCW, and then he works heavily in music. Dan Bynum directed the Bad Street USA. Him and Mickey Grant did the Bad Street USA video. They brought that production value up. Nobody else was doing that at the time.
Nobody. It's like they were doing music stuff way before everybody else did. Way before.
And the Sportatorium I romanticized it a lot. It was an oven in the summer. It was a freezer in the winter. It stunk of cigarette smoke and beer. I would buy my tickets. If I could get my tickets the week before, I would buy them in Section D, and I'd get row 5, which was up against the wall underneath the American flag. And the reason I did that is I could stand up. When everybody stood up, I could stand up on the bench and see over everybody. But also there was nobody behind me, so I wasn't getting hit with beer.
Yeah.
When they started throwing stuff, I wasn't getting hit anymore.
Mm-hmm. Smart guy. Yeah. Take advantage of your knowledge of the building. I was about to ask you how hot it got in there in the middle of the summer. I can't imagine what it was like in August.
Miserable. But I mean, it's still to this day my favorite venue to ever go. You'll hear stories about the French fries and you'll hear horror stories. No, the French fries were excellent. All the horror stories you're hearing is towards the end.
Yeah, I'm
But
sure.
there was a vendor at the Sportatorium, Jack's French Fries, that you can still get Jack's French Fries at the Texas State Fair.
Mhm.
It was the best French fry. They were all cut. They weren't frozen. They didn't come out of a bag. They cut all their fries. Jack, I was in a food service course with Jack one time, and Jack told me he made enough money at the State Fair of Texas that he didn't have to work the rest of the year.
Woof.
So
Thank you for bringing up food. That is a big part of the arena experience. I appreciate that. It really is. Now, I kind of commiserate with you because I saw my first matches the first few years of my wrestling fandom as a teenager into a young adult in an armory. And again, not the nicest place in the world, wood chairs, nothing fancy about it, one light over the ring. But I felt like I was in the big time every time I went. That's how I felt about wrestling back then.
yeah,
I'm sure you did too.
it was awesome. There wasn't a bad seat in the Sportatorium. My first trip to the Dallas Sportatorium was in February. I think it was February 4th of 83. Terry Gordy was getting a title shot against Ric Flair. See the theme? I didn't realize it, but Ric Flair was drawing me to the building every time he came. But I went to go see Ric Flair and Ric Flair and Terry Gordy. And then I went back. My next time to go was in the end of March. They were at the State Fair Coliseum. It was Kevin Von Erich versus Ric Flair. Terry Gordy versus David Von Erich in a handcuff match. That atmosphere. That's the match where Terry Gordy jumped off the apron and hit the fan, shoved the fan back about 10 feet.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's when I became a Terry Gordy fan, because all of a sudden I didn't see him. Like, I hated Buddy Roberts and I hated Michael Hayes, but there was something about Terry Gordy. And I found that over the years that I put it together that the wrestlers that were more believable. That's why David became my favorite Von Erich, because to me, I believe that David in a fist fight could whoop anybody. And
Yeah,
when
he looked
Gordy
like,
hit that fan, I knew he wasn't to be messed with at all.
I agree with you. There's something about certain guys who just look like everything they did was absolutely on the level. They threw better punches. They had better physicality. They knew the psychology the best. It's like, and I think that's part of it. I think that the guys who really understand, because Terry Gordy wrestled since he was a high school kid, I think, something like that.
Gil Colkin told me Gordy was 13 years old when he started.
That's what I heard.
In Port Gibson, Mississippi.
Yeah. So by the time he was 20, he's a seasoned veteran. It's like, wow. What a story. And, he's the nicest guy. The few times I had a chance to speak with him, he was really a cool dude. And when he left us, I was really upset because it's like he was too young and he was too talented.
Way too young.
Yeah.
That's the downside of being a world-class fan, is we saw way, way too much tragedy.
I'm sitting in my office. I worked at Pro Wrestling Illustrated during the 80s and 90s. And I'm sitting in the office, and I was there for every one of the suicides. I don't even like to talk about it now.
Yeah.
And I remember turning my chair around. We had Craig Peters, Bill Apter, all those guys. And I turned around and said to nobody, and I can't remember who it was, why am I promoting this stuff anymore? I was so upset. You know what I mean? And not mad at the Von Erichs. I was mad at the circumstances that led them to do what they did. I kept saying to myself, this is just so bad. I don't know how else to say it. I could say a lot more and I don't want to, but it was just such a depressing period for me because I would have to write these articles up and I didn't even want to.
When David died, I got to actually shake David's hand the Friday before he died. I got to go to the wrestling matches. I knew the athletic commissioner. He shopped in our grocery store and he got me. I got to walk through the back door. David came in and I wasn't in the locker room, but I was like, there's a walkway when they came from the front door of the Sportatorium to the door that took you out. So I'm standing there. David comes walking through and he shook my hand, said hi, and then he disappeared in the locker room. That night, they said that the NWA ordered Michael Hayes to defend the All Asian title against David. And then it was the United National title. So I saw David beat Michael Hayes for the All Asian title with the Iron Claw his last night in. Then we found out the next week he died. I skipped school and went to his funeral. And then we had all that happen with Mike, and I don't know what toxic shock did to him. He wasn't right. You knew he wasn't right when he came back.
No, I remember watching when I guess it was at Texas Stadium, and then they had him in the car going and he didn't look right even riding in the car.
I think it was the Cotton Bowl.
It was the Cotton Bowl. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you know better than I do.
Yeah, he didn't look right.
No, he didn't.
but I mean, that high fever for as long as he had it, he wasn't ever right. So that was sad. And then later, of course, what happened to Gino. And then later when Kerry died, I remember watching the World Wrestling. He was Texas Tornado.
Right.
And they used to do a little segment before they'd go to commercial on one of the syndicated shows where they'd go, "Hey, I'm the Texas Tornado, and in my spare time, I like to," and he said, and they would tell what they like to do with their spare time. And he said that he was learning to read and write in Latin. And I turned to my wife and I said, "Don't they write prescriptions in Latin?" And we both kind of chuckled because Kerry getting busted. I mean, that was local news when the Von Erichs got busted with marijuana or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, don't. So I put it together that you write prescriptions in Latin. And it wasn't a few months later, he got busted forging prescriptions locally. I hate that he could have been such an inspiration if they wouldn't have tried to hide his handicap. I mean, he was performing on a very, very high level on one leg. And this is back before prosthetics are what they are now. And with the WWF machine behind him, he could have been a huge inspiration. But they were ashamed that he was less than in their eyes. And, faced with going to prison, I hate it, man. It's such a waste.
Absolutely. And you know what really affected me way up in New York? Totally disassociated. I mean, I didn't get to go to Texas a lot, but I will say this. Chris really bothered me. Third time, again, I'm holding my head going, I don't know what to say. It was like the tragedy is just so vast that I couldn't process it, It seems surreal. It was like something out of a movie, but it was real. I don't know how you all in Texas handled that stuff. I really don't.
Well, by the time Kerry did it, it was like, I mean, your heart broke for the family, but it was just start like, now what? It was becoming, I don't want to say that we didn't never care. It just got to be old. Like it trying to rally around the family and hold them up had gone away. I mean, it was turning everybody off.
Yeah.
Like when David died, everybody rallied.
Mm-hmm.
And, when Kerry, because Texas Stadium was incredible when Kerry won the belt from Flair. I mean, I watch that match. I see the end of it. I still get chill bumps. I still remember to this day what it felt like being in that crowd. I mean, and then you just started tacking on more names to all these memorial shows, and it just got to where it was just a real turnoff. There's no other way to put it.
It's the sadness of it, the strangeness of it. You can love somebody and still be mad at them.
Yeah.
And I think that was the case with the Von Erichs. People loved them underneath it all. But after a while, it's like, how much more of this can we take, guys? What are you doing in that family? And it's just probably the greatest tragedy the whole wrestling world has ever known. To be honest with you, that put them all together in one big box. Wow. I mean, it was just terrible. But let's talk about good stuff. All right. I don't want to make this all somber and stuff like that because I know your memories of watching World Class were good. Who are your favorite performers just name whoever you like to watch the most. I'll bet there's some names people won't expect.
Iceman King Parsons.
I was just thinking that.
Iceman King Parsons, who in my opinion, with no disrespect to Ron Simmons, is the first black heavyweight champion. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you my reasoning on it. You're not going to convince me that there wasn't as many or more people watching World Class when Iceman won the title that was watching WCW in '92.
Oh, no question. No question. At that point, yeah.
Yeah. And the World Class belt was being defended worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, the Iceman, he came in. '83 was a great year because we had the Von Erichs and Freebirds on top.
That's so good.
The world champion was popping in, making his appearances. But we had the rise of the Iceman, the rise of Gentleman Chris Adams.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, the Von Erichs managed to feud with Jimmy Garvin.
And Precious, right?
While they were, it was all Von Erichs and Freebirds, but David feuded with Jimmy Garvin over the Texas title. Chris Adams got in there on the American title. Though we had so many great wrestlers that we were going to see them become great later come through. I just watched a match the other night with Tonga John, and I'm like, that's the Barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
He came in as the Dingo Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And we had Shawn Michaels in. Gino and Chris cut his hair.
Right.
Jake Roberts was in.
Mm-hmm.
We had Rick Rude in when he was ROOD before he became RUDE. We had Cactus Jack, Mick
Way
Foley.
early. Yeah. You had everybody pass through there. Mark Lewin, Kevin Sullivan. Just go down the list. Tony Atlee. I mean, I'm jumping around in years here, but I can't think of a major star who did not appear in world class.
Everybody that's anybody came through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rikishi.
Yep.
Samoa SWAT machine.
Mm-hmm.
And my absolute non-Von Erich favorite that to this day, I still remember every time I got to see him live because it was always a treat, was Bruiser Brody.
Oh, yeah.
Loved Bruiser Brody. I was there one night, and this is funny because The Undertaker tells a story about they put him under a mask, called him Texas Red, and Percy took him to the ring for no other reason that he could find his way back after he got through. But I was there that night. And the only reason I remember it is because Bruiser Brody, it was a treat for me to still see Brody.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to see this match and hear the Undertaker side of it. I love Skandar Akbar.
Good at what he did. Really good.
And
really good at what he did. Underrated like crazy.
Oh, and I got to work with him. I got to work for him.
Oh, tell me, please.
I got to work for him in 2010. For about a year and a half, I got to be a wrestling manager.
Uh-oh.
I had a tag team called the Medics. They wore scrubs and masks. And I was the chief of staff, Dr. Philip D. Payne. Phil the Payne.
I'm sorry. That's real. That's literally funny. That's really good.
So I got to work with Akbar and got a compliment out of him. So you can't tell me anything now.
Mm-hmm.
But getting to sit in the back and listen to Akbar tell stories on that. He loved Mike. That's why he wanted to be Mike's first match, because he knew Mike didn't want to do it to begin with. He said Mike never wanted to do it. He wanted to be a musician.
Right.
And he was really close with Mike, so he wanted to do Mike's first match. He said if David was still alive, they'd all still be working. So he had a high opinion of David. He had a high opinion of Mike, and he felt sorry for Chris because he said Chris wanted it worse than any of them. He said out of all of them, he's probably the only one that wanted to be there.
I said this about Chris at the time. He got himself into shape, and he did a couple TV matches against Percy Pringle and stuff like that, who people forget was a wrestler too. People absolutely forget. He strapped him up at one point. Percy did.
Yeah.
And Chris got himself into good shape, but he was just not large enough. So I kept thinking to myself, use him as a manager, use him as this, you do something with him. Because he had the head. He was born into psychology, right?
Yeah.
So I always felt that if you could have convinced him he had a role outside of competing and let him develop that role, I think it would have been great. What do you think?
Well, yeah. And did you ever see when he was a small child and he'd get to run in and do something?
Yeah.
How serious he took it. It was never a question of his believability.
No, he was born into it. Like I said, I mean, that means a lot.
I mean, unfortunately, his asthma stunted his growth, brittled his bones. But could you imagine just 25 years later, somebody his size would have gone a long way. He was just
something.
He was just way too early.
He would have been AEW champion 5 times by now.
Could have been. Could have been.
I'm sorry. I just found that to be amusing, but you know what I'm saying? Jim Cornette calls it all petite wrestling, whatever it is. So it's like,
they don't have a cruiserweight belt because they're all cruiserweights.
That's great.
And hey, I'm proud that they're there. I've got a lot of friends that work there.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who say that same thing.
My wrestling trainer was Lance Archer, and I love that he's got a spot.
Well, fans have been reconditioned after the McMahon era of the '80s, where everybody looked like Lou Ferrigno. Eventually, you got Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart and guys who were not quite as big, and they were credible as world champions. So, and then you could go even a little bit smaller than that. Rey Mysterio was headliner in every league he's ever appeared in. So the stigma of the smaller man is over. I mean, now you got Seth Rollins holding the belt for 4, 5, 6 times, whatever it is. All I know is that it's up to the eye of the beholder whether you think that's a good thing or not. I think sometimes it does stretch a little credibility, but most times it doesn't. The Young Bucks are kind of stretching it a little bit, but you know what I'm saying? Because they're so small. But
I can't question their success. But my first exposure to the Young Bucks, I'll never forget it. I was in a hotel room in Alabama, coming back from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I was flicking channels and Ring of Honor was on, and they put a clicker up on the screen, and they were counting super kicks. And I'm like, Chris Adams didn't need but one.
You know, that does bother me. As an old school guy that takes somebody's finisher and make it like a polite greeting, it doesn't mean anything, you know? It's like in WWE where everybody gets thrown into the announcer's table.
Yeah.
Well, you know, if it didn't end the match, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, early when they started throwing a guy in the announcer's table, they get stretchered out and it was a big deal. But now it's just another spot. So I say when you overuse a spot, stop using the spot. You know, it's too obvious, I guess.
One of the things that drives me the craziest on the indies is a match will start and there'll be a lockup and then they go outside. They'll lock up and then we go to the floor. Right. It drives me absolutely crazy.
All right. Well, we'll get back to more nostalgia. I got one more question about current wrestling for you. I watch the referees in WWE more than I watch the guys or the women. Have you ever seen a WWE referee count to 10 with the guys outside?
Rarely.
Don't watch the match. Next time you watch.
Oh, I watch the referees. I'm trying to figure out why we're not counting them on the apron. I'm trying to figure out why we're not counting when there's 4 people in the ring.
Right. I did this on a previous show. It was one of the Saturday Night's main events, I think, and it was Solo Sikoa versus Jimmy Uso, and they fought on the apron for $1.10, minute 10. When somebody should have been counting, right?
It drives me absolutely
crazy.
Drives
me crazy, too.
In AEW, I've come to expect it. But we don't count on the apron. I just don't get it. I mean, I'm to the point now is like, do I need to change my style of refereeing because of the style of refereeing that's on television now? Like, if I've got wrestlers that want to go outside and fight, I'll say, all right, well, I'm going to get out and go with you because I'm not going to stand in the ring for 3 minutes and not count them out.
Yeah.
I'll go out and like try to convince them to get back in.
Break them
I'll
up.
jump back in and break the count. They don't bury me and it's not about me. I'm trying to keep it believable. Right. When you get to a point where that believability, and that's what loses me in modern wrestling.
Me too.
I can still enjoy it, but once they do something that's like, I'm out. And once you've lost me for the match, I'm out for that match. I just want to believe.
Well, it's commonplace now in WWE. Like you'd have 5 guys gang up on one guy. Nobody gets fined. Nobody gets suspended. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you even? I know it's not a sport, but I liked it better when it was kind of a sport. People had to. It was better to me when people had to go, how did they do that? And it all looked above board. When there were rules, basically, right? You're a referee.
That's the key.
Yeah.
I need you to frame your match within the confinement of the rules. Especially, that's my main complaint about the Young Bucks, is that they'll do their stuff, but they will, like the referee, will stand there and he'll let them do whatever. Now, if they're in a Texas Tornado match, I'll enjoy what they're doing because it's okay for everybody to be in. But we've got to just not enforce rules so they can get their spots in. It drives me up a wall. I just want you to build your match within the framework, and I get that way with Moxley. I feel like he needs a prop. He's always needing a prop. Mm-hmm. Like a Texas death match. You don't want to see a good Texas death match. Go to watch World Class Thanksgiving from Reunion Arena of 1984. Terry Gordy versus Killer Khan. The absolute best Texas death match I've ever seen in my life. They didn't have a barbed wire board underneath the ring. They didn't have glass. Right. They didn't have. They fought. Anything that was used was right there at the ring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it made sense. It made sense. Like at WWE matches, it's a regular match, and somebody goes underneath the ring skirt and brings up a kendo stick. How the heck did it get there? It stretches credibility. Why is it there?
Right.
You know, a toolbox, sure. A kendo stick, really? I don't get it.
Yeah, a toolbox. Using the hammer from the ring bell.
Right.
I mean, one of my favorite David Von Erich Ric Flair match was Christmas of '83, and David Manning refused to disqualify Flair. He knew Flair was trying to get disqualified.
Right.
And he kept trying and kept trying. Finally, Flair reaches out on the timekeeper's table and grabs the hammer and cracks David in the head with it, forcing David Manning's hand to disqualify him.
Yeah, see, that's great psychology. That's great
Yes.
match psychology right there. It's believable. You understand it. There's a rationale behind it. Other
Now
than
we got
just
to
a
get him
spot.
next time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So then the
Beautiful.
storytelling goes into January, where Flair's starting to bash on Mike, who just started at Thanksgiving. And David says, I think that Mike not only can go 10 minutes with you, I think he can beat you. But if you can beat Mike in less than 10 minutes, I'll never challenge you for the belt again. But if Mike can go 10 minutes or beat you, then I get to name my stipulations. And then Flair made Mike look like a superstar in a 10-minute time limit draw. I mean, you truly believe that Mike was fixing to beat the world heavyweight champion. It's the same thing Harley Race did for David Von Erich in St. Louis. He worked a handicap match against David and Fritz. And he did the diving headbutt, and David put his hand out and put the claw on Harley and beat him with the claw in St. Louis. Busted him open with the claw. It all works, and it's all believable. And we knew David was going to get that title shot. And then, unfortunately, the next month, David's dead. But now we're firmly behind Kerry.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because Kerry's
and that made sense. The way that was handled made perfect sense. And probably, as great as David was, the circumstance of that combined with the fact that Kerry was wrestling, for his brother, because of his brother, in honor of his brother. I don't want to be cynical, but that's box office goldmine because everybody believed every bit of it. You know why? Because it was all true. None of that's an angle.
No.
That's all true.
It was real.
Yeah. When you put real human emotion involved with wrestling, it's rare, but when it does happen, it's always headline news. Like, this is totally different. Jerry Little, Andy Kaufman slap on the David Letterman show. Everybody in the world thought that was real. Basically, I just got done researching. The New York Times thought it was real.
Everybody did. David Letterman only recently admitted that he knew.
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
I saw that episode.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
It was actually the first time I'd ever watched David Letterman.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people.
I'd been out on a date, and I took my date back to her house, and she asked me if I wanted to come in, and we were watching David Letterman, and it happened. I thought it was, and I believed it.
So perfectly done. Great. To me, it may be only because it fooled the whole world. The greatest angle of all time. It didn't just fool wrestling. It, like Eddie Marlin said, did we fool him? It fooled everybody. Only Letterman was on it, and he wasn't telling for decades. So that's so beautiful. That's wrestling at its best, as far as I'm concerned. Just great stuff.
When wrestling's like that, there's nothing better.
No, there's not. And it's not like that at all anymore, and that bothers me.
Yeah.
I think the door has been flung open way too wide on what goes on backstage and why we made these decisions. And then you have press conferences after pay-per-views with wrestlers who just saying, well, my creativity is doing this, doing that. I don't want to hear the word creativity when it comes to a quasi-sport. I want to hear about the sport part. I
know that you can't put the genie back in the bottle, but
flung open way too far. Way too far.
There's an old saying that you may not believe it's real, but you'll believe I am.
Yeah. Who said that? I think Harley Race said that.
Yeah.
I think that's a Harley Race quote, I think. Yeah. Or somebody like that. I'm getting old.
and I became, that night I told you that I didn't know that Harley Race was the champion. We showed up to Reunion Arena to see Kevin Von Erich's rematch with Ric Flair. If Flair got disqualified, he'd lose the belt. Mm-hmm. And Harley was mad that he had to honor that stipulation. And I was mad because Ric Flair wasn't there and I had to watch Harley Race. But by the end of the night, I changed my opinion about Harley Race.
All I got to do is watch him.
I mean,
because it's true. He was the farthest thing from pretty or a pristine physique or anything like that. But once you watch 10 minutes of Harley Race match, that deliberate style, but everything was minute race perfect. That knee drop to the forehead and all that other stuff that he would do in a course of a regular match, he'd have it eaten out of his hand in, like I say, 10 minutes.
He was incredible, and he kicked David in the head, and David got in the ring and beat him up and got Kevin disqualified. Kevin was hurt. He'd hurt his shoulder, and we all believed his shoulder was falling apart. I mean, then he came back to town, and he defended against the Iceman at the Sportatorium, and he came out and he was Iceman's second, and he tried to kick David in the head again, and David caught his foot and didn't allow it. But then something happened, and David hit him Iceman gets the pin, and everybody thinks Iceman's the champion. But Bronco Lubitsch was out there to keep an eye on David at ringside. If David was going to be at ringside, Harley wanted another referee keeping an eye on David. And David got Iceman disqualified because of it. But the storytelling was so good.
There's the thing. You could tell your story in the ring during a match. You didn't need 6 weeks of guys barking at each other in the ring before a pay-per-view. You could do it. You could start a story with a time limit draw back then, right?
Yeah.
How many times have you seen that? Like they're mad at each other. The bell rang. And they have to be separated afterwards because they were so hot and heavy into it. And there you go. Feud for a logical reason.
Or 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes.
Give me 5. That's right.
And then the guy steals a win
Mm-hmm.
and pisses him off. It was just
it was simple and it worked for 50 years. 50 years. Yeah.
It's a very simple formula that still works.
Yeah. I just wish more people would do it now. Just keep it simple, you know?
I got to work for Gil Culkin about two years ago. He was running down here. Him and a wrestler named Steve Starr. They had a promotion called Legacy. We had time limit draws. We had disqualifications. Nobody ever dove. There was not one dive. They got in the ring. They insisted that the wrestlers they used got in the ring and worked a match. And if the building permitted, the good guys and the bad guys would not share a locker room.
Oh, baby. I'm sorry. I got to get down there. No, seriously. I am like, the fact that a promoter, even within the last 15 years, thought like that, it's just got me like my skin standing up on my, my arms.
Fun to be a part of.
Yeah. Let me ask you something about being a referee in this day and age. And you work for obviously more than one promotion, right?
Right.
The question is, before the cards or once you talk to the promoter, are there specific things they tell you to do about their rule set, about anything in terms of communicating with? Is it different where you go from place to place, or is it all basically the same wherever you go?
It's pretty much the same. Down here, they just kind of rely on me. They want me, if there's a younger referee, they want me to work with the younger referees. They want me to, when wrestlers are putting the matches together, if something doesn't make sense, to point it out. Like something simple, like we had a title match and they were going to do something with the belt before the match. And I'm like, well, why would you have the belt why would you be able to go after him with the belt if I'm got the belt and I'm holding it up? So, I mean, it was just something as simple as him running and snatching the belt from me and trying to get him with the belt before the bell rang. If something doesn't make sense, I point it out. Mm-hmm. Luckily, I work for promoters down here that they want everything to make sense. Ric Flair's last match, I had Road Dogg in my ear. I actually had to wear a headpiece for that, but really they were just giving me time cues, just keeping everything on time. They might point out, "Hey, go check on that guy," if I wasn't checking on somebody that they thought I should have been checking on. But on the indies, unless there's something that's storyline driven that I absolutely positively have to miss, I don't really get that much instruction early. They leave it up to the talent.
I want to give you a little word association in terms of some of the stars you may have seen.
Okay.
And if you just say you hadn't seen them, you didn't see them. How about the tandem of Jimmy Garvin and Precious?
Oh yeah. I preferred Jimmy Garvin and Sunshine.
That's right. That was Sunshine first. You're right.
Sunshine was incredible.
Yes, she was.
She
somebody
was
else you believe, right? You
she
believed everything
star.
she did. Yeah. Do you remember how she went from Sunshine to Precious? How Garvin went from one to the other?
Well, there was a Precious before Sunshine. Jimmy Garvin had got this valet in Florida, and the story was he was trying to impress. He was always worried more about impressing Precious, and he started losing matches because he didn't have. But the rumor and innuendo is that was really causing him a problem at the house, so they got rid of her and brought his wife in. But when he came to Texas, that's why he had Sunshine, who was his cousin, his legitimate cousin, because his wife's having a baby. So that played out until Precious came back in. And they didn't even call her Precious immediately. He was calling her Sunshine. He was saying that the other Sunshine was an imposter. She's fired. She's no longer Sunshine. This is Sunshine. So Bill Mercer was calling them Sunshine 1 and Sunshine 2 until they landed on calling her Precious.
I had no earthly idea. And you just brought up Bill Mercer. Bill Mercer and Mark Lawrence were the guys when I was watching, and I thought both of them were great. I really did. Mark Lawrence gave one of the best calls I've ever heard, where he jumped on top of a van in one of the outdoor arenas because it was Abby versus Brody, and they were going nuts. And he said this great stuff like, "Put on the disclaimers for the children." He had that deep voice, and it was just one of the best calls I've ever heard. And Bill was Bill. Bill was like a notch below Lance Russell in Memphis in making you feel at home. When you tuned in, you felt like an old friend when Bill Mercer's smiling face was on the screen.
And-
Am I right about that or what?
Well, yeah, and he also gave them credibility
Mhm.
because Bill Mercer was a legitimate newsman.
Yes, he was.
I mean, he was there for Lee Harvey Oswald being killed,
Right.
and he was the original voice of the Dallas Cowboys. And for years, he was a professor at North Texas State teaching broadcasting. So Bill gave him an air of credibility. I thought Mark Lawrence was much better play-by-play. Like, you can watch in '83, Black Gordman does a DDT. Black Gordman is, if you look, he is credited as being who came up with the DDT. It's not the Jake accidentally fell down and the grappler said, keep doing that.
Yeah.
But Black Gordman did the DDT on World Class, and Bill Mercer didn't know what to call it. He said some type of suplex. Bill Mercer's a lot of times did not know what to call a move.
Oh, yeah. He was number 2 after Jack Reynolds. Jack Reynolds never knew the name of anything. But Bill would come up with things or make up something or
in his interview, the way he could antagonize Buddy Roberts or Jimmy Garvin, and like doing an investigative journalism piece, or he'd go spend the day with David out at the ranch, and then he covered the valet for a day. So, but yeah, Jimmy Garvin and Precious were quite the duo. And later in life, about 5 years ago, I got to acquire some of Jimmy Garvin's collection because Jimmy Garvin he liked to take souvenirs he liked to keep souvenirs from his feuds. Like he had a Wahoo McDaniel headdress. Well, from David Von Erich, he had the yellow and black trunks that David wore when he helped the Freebirds win the 6-man. And he wore the yellow tights with the black stripe most of 1983 and a lot of big matches. And now those hang on my wall on the other side of my man cave.
Get out.
I have David's type. I've got a Zippo lighter that says "Taken by Force" from Fritz Von Erich. That Jimmy said that Fritz lit a cigarette and gave it to it. But Fritz used to keep those Zippo lighters in his desk and use them like business cards. Mm-hmm. And on Friday night, when you bought your program, it had a lucky number in there. And if you were over 18 years old and you had the lucky number, you could they'd give a Zippo lighter that sometimes they said "Taken by Force" from the Von Erichs or "Taken by Force" from Fritz Von Erich. So I actually Jimmy says Fritz lit a cigarette and gave him the lighter. So
pretty good. Now, back in the day, let's get some more world-class stars in here. I'm thinking in terms of, you said you were a big fan of the Freebirds and Buddy Roberts and stuff like that. Gary Hart.
Oh, underrated.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Gary Hart gets left out of so many conversations. Gary Hart could make you believe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he could plead his case that he was being held down by Fritz and make you believe it. Like, he'd have a gripe, and you might not have cared. I know David came out one night and grabbed him around the throat and pushed him up against one of the, they used to do the Saturday Night Wrestling was from Fort Worth, Texas, at the Will Rogers Coliseum. They'd either do it in the auditorium or the Coliseum. If the Coliseum was being used, they'd move it to the auditorium. But he put him up against one of those horse troughs and was just under his breath telling him all the different ways that he hated him. And he finally goes, "You disgust me." And the way that Hart sold, like, the terror on his face, but he got with Chris Adams and turned Chris, and he'd bring and I was scared of Kabuki. Nobody could present a monster like Gary Hart.
Right. And he had all the monsters. Yeah. Yeah. Abdullah.
Nobody could present a monster like Gary Hart.
Gary Hart sounded like a defense attorney. Like you'd listen to what he's saying, you go, and you hated him, but you'd go, yeah, maybe he's got a point there. Right? He was so verbose and he had such a great analytical mind when coming up with an excuse for something that you would actually sit at home and go, yeah, I kind of buy that. Yeah. Right? I mean, how good was he? He was amazing. Nobody else like him. Nobody. And the way that he talked with that meter, it's just, send chills down his spine. And when he got evil sounding, you really, you'd say, uh-oh. right? I mean, as a kid, you go, oh my gosh. Kabuki was like, remember that web he used to throw? Phew. I never saw anything like that web. Did you ever see that?
Oh, the web?
He would shoot a web out of his hand.
I just remember the mist.
I remember the mist too, yeah. But it was in world class too. I remember seeing it on television. I was living in Albany, New York at the time. It was on when they brought
Was
Kabuki
it later?
in. It was later Kabuki,
Like when he was with Sunshine and...
Even past that point. I think it was near the point when they stopped going into syndication, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He developed this web thing. It was before the match even started, and I forget. And he was a good guy. They brought him back as a good guy. Mercer goes, loved by millions. I say, since when?
Oh, Sunshine had him. She was managed him, and Jim Cornette was going to have a match with Sunshine, and he was going to do it blindfolded with his hands tied with one hand tied behind his back.
Mm-hmm.
And he came out at the Cotton Bowl to the song "Walking on Sunshine," and they get him all gimmicked up, and Kabuki Roundhouse kicks him, and Sunshine covers him, and Cornette never knew it hit him.
Oh, that's right. Cornette came in too.
Yeah, we had him for a little bit.
In Midnight Express, right?
Right.
That must have been great.
Oh, with the Fantastics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wish we could have had him against Kerry and Kevin.
Yeah, think about that.
And I'm sure that he wishes they could have had him against Kerry and Kevin too. But
yeah, late when it was still good.
Right.
We know about the last whiffs of world class. We won't even get into that because it's not really necessary. But at the near end, they were importing a lot of talent. They were bringing in Tony Atlas, Bam Bam Bigelow, who was Crusher Yurkoff, and
right.
Like I said, early Dingo War and stuff like that. Did you ever see somebody come in who you went, doesn't fit, not going to work, and it didn't? Did you ever see anything like that? Like somebody who had established the name in another league, like maybe a Matt Bourne or something like that. When they came in, you were just like, is this going to work? That type of thing.
Well, to some extent, I'd say Jake the Snake Roberts never worked. The first time I saw Mike Von Erich use the claw, it was on Jake Roberts, and I was like, I didn't buy it. Yeah. Christmas of '84, I was on the front row, saw Jake Blade. It's the first time I'd ever seen it.
You had front row of what arena? The Sports Center?
No, Reunion. Christmas night.
Oh my gosh, really?
Christmas night of 1984.
You were a fan, man. That's pretty good.
Had second row 85.
Shoot, I never had really close seats till I worked for the magazines.
When
I got hired at Peter, all of a sudden I'm second row at Madison Square Garden somehow, and it's like I'm in Nirvana. Like for the first SummerSlam, I was like, oh God, this is great. But yeah, I mean, for you to first row at Reunion Arena, you were really hit me over the head with some feels here because it's like that is a great fandom life right there. That's stuff you'd never forget as long as you live, right?
Right. I didn't miss a Reunion Arena show probably till I don't know that I did from '82 on. I went to the International Star Wars. I'd be there Thanksgiving, Christmas, Texas Stadium. When they started going to Mesquite Rodeo, I didn't go to all of those. I went to 2 of the Cotton Bowls. And sometimes if you'd see them in a high school gym, which was a different...
Would they do those, like what they would call charity shows?
Yes.
Those places? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They did them up east too, yeah.
See, the syndicated show came from the Sportatorium. The weekly show that promoted all that they were doing they'd tape it on Monday night in Fort Worth. They'd show it on Saturday night on KTVT Channel 11, which was a superstation. But they'd go to in Garland, they'd go to Bishop Lynch to their high school. My brother saw Kevin Von Erich versus Ric Flair in Seagoville, Texas, in a high school gym. They do Armories, Oil Palace in Tyler. They ran San Antonio pretty regular. And we didn't know, I've got a David Von Erich t-shirt that I didn't even know they had. But the promoter in San Antonio actually did t-shirts for the talent. And I got a David Von Erich t-shirt. I got Jimmy Garvin's David Von Erich t-shirt. But I didn't even know it was a thing back then. My first wrestling t-shirt was Bad Street USA t-shirt.
Oh, that was the infancy of the the merchandise. And they all used ABC photos, which I know from I was in the music industry. ABC photos were the cheapest ones you could buy. You could buy like 1,000 of them for like $45 or something like that. Yep. And they weren't as clear, but they were cheap. And I know a lot of the wrestlers that I knew used ABC photos.
I'm trying to think of the photographer's name. I just pointed it out when I saw him at ringside. I used to do a show with Bill. We did the after mag chats for ad free shows for a year.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think what that fella's name is. Not George Napolitano.
No.
Buddy Myers.
Okay.
I think Buddy Myers was doing a lot of their promo pictures.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so that's different because they stayed local back then.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could always see him at ringside.
Yeah.
And then for the major shows, you'd see Bill and George Napolitano at ringside.
They knew what was going to happen. I always thought that was the only thing kind of fishy about old wrestling is that if you saw George and Bill, there's going to be a title change, right? They weren't there last week, and they weren't there the month before. Uh-oh. You know, I was, even at the Garden, you would see their heads. Like, you look at those old tapes, man, you see their two heads right there. And it's like, that was different because they were there every month. But if you saw them in Minneapolis, if you saw them in Dallas, something big was going down.
Right.
And that, to me, it telegraphed it just a little bit. If you're aware of what's going on, you know.
At a big show, it wouldn't have registered. I mean, other than it was a big show.
Yeah.
Like the International Star Wars, they had Giant Baba, Jumbo Taruta, and they were reading Japanese proclamations.
You know, you make a good point because they're photographers, and it would be like covering the World Series as a photographer. It's the same thing. It's a big event. You want to be there for that. Yeah, maybe I'm reading too much into it. My old cynical self says, "Oh, don't telegraph things to me, will you?"
It was more. It was more who the referee was that would be the tell. If Bronco Lubitsch was the referee, we knew that the bad guy was probably gonna get away with some stuff. If David Manning was the referee, you knew that the good guys had a chance.
How great was David Manning? Seriously,
love David Manning. I wanted to be David Manning.
He added to the excitement, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. He was athletic. He was an athlete himself. And the difference was stark. There was no other referee in the whole business like David Manning.
Oh, I knew I couldn't be a wrestler. In 1984, I went to Doug's Gym in downtown Dallas trying to figure out I wanted to be a referee because David Manning was my size. He appeared to be my size. He was bigger than me, but David Manning stood up to everybody. He was the law. He could. And, you know, and he ended up having matches with Buddy Roberts. He had matches with Captain Frank Dusek.
Mm-hmm.
They worked angles with him, and that's a testament to how good Buddy Roberts was. You know, at the time, you didn't realize. In hindsight, I realized that Buddy Roberts was probably the best of the Freebirds when you think about it.
You know, he had a career that goes back to the late '60s as a contender in various organizations, or if not a champion. Like he had a tag team called the original Hollywood Blondes with Jerry Brown. And I'll tell you what, that's the 60s going into the 70s to the early 80s with that. And he was around doing all sorts of things in other places too. He's underrated, Buddy Roberts, because he was, like I said, a contender or a main cog in things for decades. I mean, he worked a long time with the Freebirds. That's the amazing
and the
part
heat.
I
mean, he would get the heat.
Yeah, he would.
I mean, with the Iceman cutting his hair, he had that big feud with the Iceman. He had the feud with David Manning. He was just anybody that Buddy Roberts went after. He knew how to stir it up.
He looked 15 years older than the other Freebirds because he was at least probably 25 years older than Terry Gordy.
Oh,
just making it up. And older than you know what? Michael Hayes, good gravy. Michael Hayes.
Oh,
could sell snow cones to Eskimos, man. He was just that. And I think he was one of the few heels that the ladies liked.
My mother loved him.
Really?
Yeah, my mother loved him.
As bad as he was.
Yes. My mother loved you. She hated wrestling, but she loved Michael Hayes.
No, he was a good-looking guy when he was young. He really was.
And a talker. Oh,
yeah. Born to do it.
They were something, and he's still doing it. I mean, he's still a creative genius.
Yep. I always thought he was. In fact, the first time I ever met him wasn't even down there. It was he came to Long Island. I think he was between contract. You know how this works? And he'll take an indie date. And he wrestled the Iron Sheik of all people. It didn't even make sense. And he was mad because I think the Sheik clocked him with a chair a little bit too hard. And in the locker room, he's going, I didn't expect this. He was feeling his head, you know. But he was a funny, behind the scenes, he was a funny, smart, gregarious guy. And I thought he was awesome. And did you know that I had lunch with Kerry Von Erich once?
Oh, really?
Bill Apter and I he came up to our PWI offices in New York, or in Long Island, I should say. And we went to a restaurant called George Martin. He had the biggest steak I ever saw. and got rid of it like before I had a chance to say, "How's the steak?" One of those things. But no, so I got to know Carrie, that much, and they were all gentlemen. Those guys. Every minute they walked around in public, they were perfect gentlemen. They were just really, really good guys. That's also another
I
sad
don't
part
think
about
it was
They were
an
good
act.
people. They were good. No, they were good people. They were.
I mean, you watch Carrie down in Florida with David when they brought Carrie in to help David out, and Carrie tried to cut a heel promo. It's horrible. It was not a believable heel. It was never going to be. Not to me. I love going back and watching. David wrestled as a heel when he got back to Texas.
I saw that. Yeah.
I mean, David never changed.
Mm-hmm.
Just the opponents. He always wrestled like a heel, and I think that's what I love best about David. But I'll watch some of that stuff that he did in Florida. I got to be friends with Sweet Brown Sugar of Skip Young. So I like to really go back and watch Skip stuff from Florida. And then by doing that, I got to see a lot of David stuff from Florida. And it was, but they brought Fritz came in as the president of the NWA, cutting heel promos. But when Kerry tried, it was just so bad.
You know why? He was a nice guy. I don't think it was in him.
No.
No, and for you listening out there, don't call me a mark. These were nice people. If you ever met Kevin Von Erich too, these were the nicest people you've ever met in your life. It's like you talked to him for 10 minutes, you felt like you knew him for 10 years. And Abster loved those guys.
Yeah, I got to spend some time with Kevin in 2005, and I really, really enjoyed being around him.
Yeah. They don't make them like that anymore.
His boys are real nice too. I think the world.
And I'm glad to see they're doing well.
They're really, really good guys.
That's cool. Keep that lineage going, right? That's really cool. Well, this is Dave Miller. Dave, I could go another hour, man. This has been.
Yeah, we didn't get that many names, but
no. But here's the thing: this has been so much fun because it's like we're just pulling stuff out of a hat here, and this is how my podcasts usually are. We just talk.
Yeah,
and you know your stuff. You obviously were there. I mean, anybody who's ever been to the Sportatorium, because as the years pass, keeping the memory of this stuff, I think, is real important. That's what this show is about. Is it's not a shoot show here. Well, I'm not trying to make headlines. What I am trying to do is give thanks and look back with fondness at the wrestling we grew up watching that isn't around anymore. And that's all this show's about. I have no other ulterior motive other than that. And it's working because we're on our 4th year in January, but I've exceeded expectations with this thing. It's because of guests like you that people may not know at first, but then they're going to want to know you. And because I think they're going to want to know you, tell people where they can see your podcast or anything else you got going on.
The easiest way to find us is go to markoutmoments.net, and that'll take you to our YouTube channel. We do our podcast live, either on. We try to do Tuesday nights. Sometimes we move to Wednesdays, depending on whether grandkids are playing basketball or softball. Or we podcast around the grandkids' schedule this time of year.
You say you do it live?
We do it live.
Wow.
We go live on YouTube. Well, I did it at first because I'm too lazy to edit.
Oh gosh, you hit me in the head. I'm one of the few podcasters of this ratings strata that does everything myself. Everything. Soup to nuts. I do the editing. I do sound sweetening. I get it mastered. I'm real serious about this. So I envy anybody who goes, I don't want to edit. I'm just going to do it live. God bless you, man. I never thought of that.
Well, with the studio audience, we can play off the audience as well.
Mm-hmm.
We have pretty good following, and it's a good loyal bunch. And sometimes they'll ask a question that we're not thinking of, or they'll just have somebody come in and just start trying to keep us busted up. And it's a fun hour and a half, 2 hour show.
I got to go see it now. I have to see it.
And we've had some.
I love your concept. It sounds different to me. It's not the same old thing. So it's got to be good if it's been around that long.
And I've had David Manning on.
Really?
I had David Manning on a couple years ago, and I've had James Beard on. I had Dan Bynum on to hear about his time at World Class. We've had they're in our archives on our YouTube channel. We call it Mark Out Moments. I do my show on there. We have a couple of other podcasts that do their things on there. It's just kind of our little our network. I do a show on there called That Boy Was Busy. where I'll just go do a 30-day snapshot. Like I'll take Kerry Von Erich's. I did Kerry Von Erich's April of 84, and he worked mostly Japan that month. But I sit there and I'll just go over every match that he did in the month of April, leading up to winning the world title in May. And then I did the May because he went on that 18 defenses in 18 days. But I'll do that with Tully Blanchard. I'll do it with, I've done it with Wahoo, with Andre, with Hulk Hogan. I'll just go back and get their schedule. I just did one with Tully Blanchard because when those guys are working, and Ric Flair, when they're working 26, 28 days a month, it's and against Hall of Famers, and how long, sometimes how long, and it's a 10-minute episode. It's just a fun little project I like to do. So we do all that at markoutmoments.net.
Wow, I'm going to check it out for sure. I am glad that Anthony Pyrus said, you got to check this guy, Dave.
Me
Miller
too.
out."
I've had fun tonight.
Me too. You know why? Because like I said, we're both very nostalgic and it feels good. Like I said, when the show is fun, I feel like I'm 35 years old again. I'm at the desk at PWI and typing stuff up, and I was much younger and much better looking. Now I'm fossil and nobody wants to see me, and that's why I don't do a video podcast, because who wants to see this? I'm pointing at my face, guys. So
Well, that's another reason there's an Amy.
Smart man, smart guy.
You got this thing
Folks,
figured out.
Folks, it's Dave Miller. This has been great. Would you please come back here?
Anytime you want me. I had a great time tonight.
I'm glad you did. Hey, Anthony says the same thing. Besides, he owes me money too, so that works.
Pyrus is
Folks,
the best,
yeah, he is.
except
He's
for when he yells "Go Pats."
I've had him leave podcast interviews when the Pats came on. I couldn't. But you know what? He tells me going in. He has done interviews with me from the football stadium.
Oh yeah, he'll call.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do Zooms. We'll do Zoom calls, and he'll be on from the stadium. Hockey games too.
And I didn't know he was a Yankees fan until like a month ago. I said, "You're a Yankees fan? How can you be a Boston football fan and Yankees fan?" He's, "Oh, I've loved them my whole life." I don't know what to say. He's one of a kind, though. And so are you. Folks,
Well,
it's Dave Miller. See you soon, hopefully.
Thank you for having me, Bob. This was great.
Another Outdated Wrestling Hour is in the books. Thank you for being here once again. Dave Miller exceeded my expectations, man. That was a whole blast for me. I'm telling you. The guy knows the stuff. He was there in the time. And we need more people who were there in the time. That's why I like having the veteran fans and experts on here, because, memories fade. You forget the greatness of stuff that happened in years gone by. And I certainly haven't. And I want to keep reliving it here on the Outdated Wrestling Hour. Thank you also to Joe Puccio once again. A little spirited discussion there with the hay. Write to us, outdatedwrestling@gmail.com. Find me on Facebook. I'm the only Bob Smith that sings with B.B. King. I forget how lucky I've been, man. We're also on all the other social media apps. You just outdated_Bob on most of them. Just look around, you'll find me. I mean, how many Bob Smiths could there be? Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Our website, outdatedwrestlinghour.buzzsprout.com. Hear us all. Hear all of our shows right there. Just click a button, you're right there. You can also find out about the Outdated Wrestling Hour fan club, where for a nominal fee, we're talking small, under $5, under $4, if you'd like. You can help perpetuate the ongoing adventures of this podcast and our sister podcast, the Outdated Entertainment Hour. And by the way, got a great one right now about the 30th anniversary of Babe, the classic fantasy film with Adam Baratow as our guest. And our next one coming up, old magazines. Yeah, that's right. Old magazines with, you just can't find anymore. They've gone out of business as the decades have passed. But I have two guests on that show you might find interesting. Brian R. Solomon and Steve Gennarelli. Can't beat it, can you? I don't think so. But anyway, I'm going to let you go. It's been a long one, but a good one. Thanks again. My name's Bob Smith, the old PWI guy. And as I leave every show, I want you to remember what Ringo Starr still says and has been saying for decades. Peace and love, brothers and sisters. Peace and love.